So today I have a really, really special guest. I'm so stoked that she's on here. She's someone who has revolutionized the way we think about food, fitness, and our overall well-being. And she is the mastermind behind PaleOMG, which I always want to put an extra O in there and say PaleOMG, but it's PaleOMG. Is a popular blog, which still is, and it is a beacon for health enthusiasts everywhere. And Julie is not just a New York Times bestselling author, but also an incredibly inspiring figure in the world of health, fitness, and nutrition. But as I did some research and found out about her, she's also a seasoned CrossFit athlete, and her dedication to the sport and her achievements in the CrossFit community have been nothing short of remarkable. And she has used her platform to inspire countless others to take up this sport and also embrace that active lifestyle. So, without further ado, I would love to welcome Julie Bauer Roth to the Gritty Glitter Badger podcast. Hey, Julie.
Hey, that was so sweet. What a nice introduction.
Well, you're welcome. So, for my listeners that don't or aren't as familiar with you, what more, like some more background information that you could provide that about your journey to this point so far?
Yeah, I mean, I was just a college kid, man, 14 years ago or something. And I met my college boyfriend who was into CrossFit. And I worked at the rec center at my college. And he would come in before I even knew who he was. He would come in and he would work out for like 20 minutes and be soaked in sweat. And he was so jacked. I was like, what is this guy doing? And how can I date him? So I met him and he introduced me to CrossFit, started doing CrossFit workouts with him. And then we both decided we wanted to compete in CrossFit. So we joined a
Nice.
CrossFit gym because we were just doing workouts at the rec center.
Yep.
We joined a CrossFit gym and we started doing competitions, and it just became like our complete life. And then I decided I wanted to get more into the diet realm. I was
Yeah.
very motivated when it came to the gym. I knew every single week, okay, I'm going to add more weight. I'm going to do this. But I really didn't understand the nutrition side of
Hmm.
things other than what school had taught me, which was not helpful at all. So I learned
Exactly.
about the paleo diet and I got into paleo and I had no idea how to cook. And so I just started cooking. And at that point, I was sending recipes to my friends. I don't know if it was through text or email or what it was back then, but my friend was like, you should just start a blog and then you can like share with everybody, like at the gym. So a friend helped me put a blog together and I just started sharing my recipes there. And it has just grown all throughout the years in such a fun
Mhm.
way. I wrote 3 cookbooks. I have a podcast. I have this blog that's been
Mhm.
growing over the years with thousands of recipes and
And
anything.
that grew, you had that like before all of like, because now I will get like the people will slide into DMs like, oh, pay, you pay me and I'll get you so many. Like yours came up 100% organically. There was no promotions, like people telling you, like, you pay me and I'll get you. And I love that about that. It was a different time for social media. And I think we've lost that, which is unfortunate. So I think that's for me, the charm with you even more is how it was done and how it grew on its own just through basically you like nurturing it.
Yeah, it was all word of mouth, and the CrossFit community back then, especially when I was really involved with it, was just so strong and so, excited about
Mhm.
everything, and so I was one of those, like, original paleo blogs, and then friends would just share on social media. Facebook was really big that back then, and so I was getting thousands of new followers every day through Facebook, and then as soon as Instagram popped up, then I started sharing on Instagram, so I've
Yep.
been on there from the adoption of it, and so it has been, yeah, just truly through word of mouth, just growing and changing and evolving into what I have interest in at the moment, and every year is different.
Yeah, I love that. And so, okay, so I was a CrossFit Masters athlete. I was training to qualify for the games. And the whole diet thing, like the food and dialing the nutrition in. And I remember learning about the zone diet. And that was like such a new concept for me because I was with Brute Strength. That's how I met Michaela. She was one of the coaches with Brute Strength. And I remember this whole webinar with Adrian Conway about the zone diet. And I'm literally sitting there taking notes. And I'm like, wait, what? And literally, it's just all you do is like block little things out. And so is the zone, is that similar to paleo or?
So it's funny you say that because I started as zone. I almost brought that up, but I was like, oh, it doesn't even really have to do with this. But I literally, that was the first thing I started doing because my boyfriend in college, he did the zone diet. And so he taught me
Yeah.
that, and like, your 3 almonds that you get and whatever it looks like for a block. So I did the zone diet then. And then paleo, it was really, back to, you think back to Paleolithic time, back before the agricultural revolution. It's
Yep.
just back to basics. So back to our fruits and vegetables, back to our
Yep.
nuts and seeds, our meat. And really what I like about paleo is it got so many people more interested in like the sources of their meat. So looking for
Yes.
grass fed, pasture raised, and people were just paying more attention to that. And I think paleo played a big part in that and pushing
Yep.
that. But paleo got me away from zone and just like eating more based on simple foods
Yeah.
and really kind of nourishing my body that way.
Now, was it helpful to you, like one over the other, or did you get to a point where, because my husband and I, we actually did, oh my gosh, was this, I'm trying to think now. It may have been, I don't even know, it was a few years back. We like reverse dieted. And we actually literally went back, started as vegan, and slowly, like, we took foods out and then we reintroduced foods. But as we reintroduced them from a more pure nature. Like you said, like now we only buy locally sourced meats. Like we actually talk to the farmers when we go. We only get locally sourced eggs. Like we read labels all the freaking time. And if there's one thing in there that I'm like, nope, we put it back. So did you find, like, with the zone paleo, there's no potatoes.
Yeah, I mean, with
It,
paleo, it's really evolved over the years. It was no potatoes for a long time. And
yeah.
then somebody was like, oh, yeah, potatoes are fine. And now it's totally part of it. And then it was like, well, if you're getting good sources of dairy, like raw milk, that's totally fine during paleo. So I think paleo has really evolved over the years of what people want it to be for their own diet.
Okay, so now can you recall um, a specific moment or event that became the driving force for you that has actually set you on the path of where you are today?
Ooh, that is such a good question. I think I'm just a person who I throw myself into the things that I love the most.
Mhm.
And for fitness and health in general, that's always been my kind of guiding light since I was in
Yeah.
college. I went to school for health and exercise science. I was guessing I was going to be a trainer, and that's what I get to do now. And it was always like listening to my gut and what it was calling to, and not listening to the people who are telling me to do
Yeah.
other things. When I said I was going to school for health and exercise science, everybody told me, well, you should be a nurse. Like, you're not going to really make any money being a personal trainer. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to be a nurse. I want to
Yeah.
be a personal trainer. And so going with my gut with that, and with my blog, starting that, whatever
Mhm.
interested me and
Yeah.
excited me
Yep.
and lit me up inside, that's what I did. And that's really changed from paleo recipes to fashion to fitness to shoe wear, like whatever I'm interested in.
Yes.
I just talk constantly about it because those are the things that I want to share. And I just go with my gut more than anything.
The shoes, I actually, that is a very true thing because the Witten shoes and the barefoot shoes, because I wanted to transition to those. And so I saw you had posted something about this. So I went on your little link and I found the Witten shoes. So I have 4 pairs, and that's what
Yeah.
I train in. I bought a pair of, they have a pair that are the rugged trail runners. What a game changer when you're out running on a trail in these barefoot, and I mean, they're still solid, but it's like amazing. Like my feet have never felt a trail like that before. So yeah, that got me really into finding shoes instead of paying astronomical amounts for a shoe that I wasn't sure that I would like, that
Mhm.
cost a couple of $100s. And I'm like, okay, if I try these, and it's not like it was this big cost. So they were fabulous. And I appreciate all of those things.
I
And
just think I think there's so many facets of health, and I get to talk about so many of
yes,
those different things. Like foot health is such an important piece that
mm,
is not being talked about enough in the fitness and
yes,
wellness space. And so I get to have this fun platform to make it fun, to make it stylish, to make it cute, and
yep,
get to share that with people. And it's the same thing. Like right now, I'm just super into books and like this mental health that comes
yeah.
along with it. It's like whatever I find interest in, there's so many facets of health that can be talked about in different ways, and it's so much fun.
And I love that because, like you had mentioned before, about there are so many external voices that are telling us, well, well, you should do this, and you should try that. Well, then if don't do that because that may not be. But it's like, and I'm 51, and you get to a point where I'm just like, you know what? I fucking want to do what I want to do, and I appreciate, but it just doesn't vibe with me. Like it's not my jam, and I need to do the things that are going to fill me up, and at the end of the day, make me feel like, oh my God, yes. And so it's being able to turn those voices out, and with the reading too, it's not just for knowledge and to learn, which I'm constantly doing that, but it's also reading for pleasure. And I know you're reading, and I don't know, I can't think the series because I have it in my cart and I haven't gotten it yet, but I see your post about it and it cracks me up. And um, your most recent podcast where you were talking about it is hysterical to me. So, what are the books? And just can you give us a little bit of background about what they're about?
Yes. Oh my God. Hell yes. I am super into these fantasy books right now that my girlfriend turned me on to because after having a baby, like getting
Yeah.
back into the swing of things with your partner and like getting back into that groove after you've lost that groove, my
Yep.
girlfriend was like, well, I think you should read these books. They have like some incredible sex scenes. I was like, done. Let's do it. I finally started reading them, and it's A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's a
Court of Thorns.
five
Yes.
books. Yes, it's a 5 book series. And then that author, Sarah J. Maas, has 3 different series. So she has Crescent City and she has Throne of Glass. And she's just the most incredible writer. She's fantastic. And then I also started Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, which is a really great one too. Then they have similar vibes to them, fantasy world,
Cool.
but it is just so fun reading this completely different life. Like we are
Yeah.
bombarded so much with information, like on podcasts where we're
Yes.
constantly learning from people. And it's like, okay, how to biohack and how to improve here and how to do this.
Yep.
And you're doing this wrong. And it's like, okay, well, can I just like live in a fun world for a bit?
Yeah.
Because getting to live in this little fantasy world is just a blast. So I've had so much fun with these books, and it has been great for my husband as well.
Yeah. Well, I have them in my cart, so I need to get on that, and I'm sure my husband will be the very happy beneficiary of that as
Exactly.
well. And
Exactly.
it is so true with I have a podcast and I love it, and you have a podcast, and I love that, and you're right, and information is so good, but it's such a valid point. We are inundated 24/7, and we're just not living, like truly living our lives. And I have gotten I have been reading since I was before I was in kindergarten. I was an early reader, and my sister was the same way. And I mean, we read books. Like I remember one time I was grounded, and my mom, I don't even one of the many things that I did when I was little, and she's like, you're grounded for the whole day. And I'm like, well, that's fine. I'm like, I'll just go sit up in my room and read my books. Well, my
Ideal.
mom's like, really? She went up, she cleared every book out of my room. Devastated me. I was so heartbroken. I literally, like, I cried almost the entire day because I
Oh,
couldn't read. So getting back into the fiction has been such a joy for me because I am constantly learning, and it's like it's overwhelming mentally, and it gets to a point where it can become toxic because you're not enjoying life the way that it was meant to be enjoyed. So, and the series that you mentioned is just another way and a reminder for me to enjoy life. And you, like you said, just step out of all of the reality and just be in a fantasy world for a little while. And when you come back to life, it's like, okay, I can do this. Like I can handle my day and everything is good. So I want to go back. So I had heard, and I can't even remember where you were doing the bean protocol, which I'd never even heard of. So I
Yeah.
looked that up. And are you still doing that? And then what's the general basis for it? And then what does it do for you, overall well-being and health?
Yeah, Bean Protocol was something so fascinating to me. I was really dealing with ongoing acne after doing Accutane and spironolactone and then trying to just fully improve my health. And so I wasn't dealing with acne. And I was on a walk with my girlfriend and she told me about the Bean Protocol. She's like, you should listen to this podcast. She's like, not only is it supposed to be great for acne, but it's supposed to be great for fertility. And told me about this podcast. I listened to it. It was Unique Hammond. And so I bought her course and just decided to go all in with the Bean Protocol. So the cool thing about the Bean Protocol, specifically for acne, but it can be used for so many different things, is that you're getting this soluble and insoluble fiber. And
Mhm.
so when you have excess hormones happening in the body,
Yeah.
this fiber, it can cling to the fiber and you
Mm.
can get rid of it through your liver, through urine, kidneys, and you're able to just process through these excess hormones. So I was like, I'm just going to
That
go
is good.
full on.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's incredible for hair growth. It's incredible for nails. It's incredible for
Wow.
so many different things that are like very intense health related.
Mhm.
And my acne within 3 months had completely cleared. And then it kind of came back on, and I was still doing the bean protocol really strong. And I have been supplementing like with zinc. Zinc has just been an
Yeah.
incredible supplementation for that. But the bean protocol was really cool because beans were something that were a big no-go in paleo.
Yes.
And so I was like scared to eat them. I'm like, legumes, oh my God, legumes are like the devil. And then having this experience in such a positive way with
Yeah.
a food that was supposed to be a no-go food. Now I'm in a time in life. Not only did I think the bean protocol really helped with my gut health, but just really creating great, good, healthy gut bacteria, but it's gotten me to eat whatever I want at this point. Like I am eating
Yeah.
any foods that I want. I go to a bakery every weekend. We're getting croissants. If somebody has, pizza over, I'm going to have pizza. I can eat foods that scared me for so long because of
Mhm.
like the paleo diet and diet culture. But also, I had a lot of gut issues from how I
Yep.
was raised and the foods I ate. And
Mhm.
Pain Protocol, I think, was a huge piece in correcting some of those issues
Yep.
that I had for a long time.
That's fascinating. The hormones thing is fascinating to me because I'm perimenopause, menopause right now, and so they're just it's a roller coaster ride every day. So that would
Mhm.
be, and I do eat beans, but I mean not like I'm hammering them every day. So I imagine just adding like a few with each meal or something, like just to. So I do like black beans. So that's fascinating to me.
It's so cool.
Yeah, with the CrossFit thing. So, and I don't know if this happened to you, but so I it's been like 2 years since I walked away. Like I had to stop. It was to a point where it became very mentally toxic for me. And like I was so focused on the leaderboard and how I was doing. And every like your entire life revolves around it. Like you are like your goal is to qualify. And you know that. And so when I find, and it was, I contemplated, I don't even know how long, like just like, you know, telling my coach, like, I can't do this anymore. And so when I did, I had this severe identity crisis. I'm like, okay, so if I'm not doing this, if I'm not an athlete, well, then what am I? Because I've been in sports since I was 8. So that is a mass quantity of my entire life. And I've always identified as the athletic, physically athletic, sports girl. And so I really struggled with that. It took me a long time to get through that. when you left CrossFit, and because you were even at that higher level, did you have any issues with like being attached to that athlete identity? And if so, how did you deal with that? And what were strategies that you used to help get yourself out of it?
Yeah, that was a really challenging time in life because so much of my identity was CrossFit. And it's very similar to what you said. I remember when I was like, okay, I'm going to keep doing CrossFit, but I'm going to go way lighter. And I remember
Yeah.
doing 95-pound thrusters and crying that I was doing 95-pound thrusters because I should be doing like 105. And then I'm like, I'm going to be so disappointing to my coaches. And my coaches
Hmm.
were very disappointed when I would say, like, no, I'm not putting more weight on the barbell. They were really disappointed in me because I was one of their athletes that they wanted to do well. And so that was a really hard time of almost losing friendships that were built around this community that I had been in for so long,
Yep.
but losing this sense of self was like, if I don't push to my brink of exhaustion to where I feel like I can't
Yeah.
move, am I even trying hard? So it was a hard transition that took me from CrossFit to Orange Theory, which was very similar,
Yeah, I
different
was.
types of weights.
Yes.
Very similar, but I was like, well, I'm going to be doing more cardio. And then I was like, no, this is destroying me still. Like my
Yeah.
body needs rest. And it took a lot of time to remove myself from the amount of exercise I was doing because I was doing multiple workouts per day when
Yep.
I was competing and then going from 5 to 6 workouts per week and then even less after that. So I think it was a long transition and I finally stepped away from CrossFit altogether because the more I rested, the more rest
Hmm.
days I took, the less exertion I put on my body, the more results I started to
Yeah.
see. The physical results that I was really hoping for from exercise. And so it was a long process to get me to where I am now of doing progressive overload workouts. I barely
Mm.
sweat in my workouts. Like I am just, I'm pushing it very hard on my lifts,
Yeah.
but then I'm resting a good amount. I'm
Yep.
never doing high intensity exercise at this point because it doesn't work well for my body. And I'm not saying high
Yeah.
intensity is bad, but for my own hormones, for
Hmm.
the type of um physique I want to see, more
Yeah.
rest is better for me. So I've really had to find that balance of pushing it hard in the gym, but getting adequate rest in and adequate food.
Absolutely. And it too, even, I mean, just the CNS, like your central nervous system, I was so inflamed, and I had lost when I stopped. It took a little bit of time, but I lost 10 pounds. And I know without a doubt that most of that was inflammation. And so I just went back to my roots of weightlifting, bodybuilding, which I absolutely love. I just, like you said, the progressive overload and, things like that. And my body loves it better. Like I don't hurt. I get the DOMS, the delayed on muscle set soreness from lifting, but not like wondering if my knee is going to cave today because it's so exhausted from all of the work that had been done previously, like earlier in the week, or like is this shoulder tweak going to go away, or what's happening with my back, things like that that just don't happen anymore. And it's such a relief, and I'm sure you feel that kind of a physical relief as well.
Yeah, I mean, big time. I did CrossFit in my early 20s, so I was able to get away with a lot of stuff. Your
Yeah.
body is just built different in your 20s
Oh
versus
yeah.
I'm mid 30s now, and I could never get away with that now. I last week I even pushed it too heavy on a weight, which I can push very hard on weights and still keep my form, but I'm not going to necessarily be able to recover. So I have to find that
Yeah.
balance where I pushed it too hard and I could feel it instantly. I was like, that's not going to work. And I was swollen for days in my legs.
Oh
So
wow. Yeah.
it's finding what works for you. And especially at the time in your life, if you're in your early 20s, yeah, fucking get it. Get it. Just kick
Yeah.
some ass. Like, but then the body needs more time to recover. It's going
Yeah.
to be more predisposed to injury as you age. And like what is the purpose? If your purpose is to kill yourself every workout, That's awesome. But do you
Yeah.
want to do that for the rest of your life?
Right.
Maybe not. What I loved about CrossFit and still love about it is it has put a barbell in so many females' hands. And that's the
Yes.
coolest thing, to
Yep.
prove to a female that they're not only welcome in a gym and they're going to be cheered on in their
Yep.
gym, but they will be able to completely change how they see themselves and the
Yep.
power that they hold within themselves. And that's what I remember going to CrossFit sectionals before they just changed it to regionals. And
Yeah.
I remember going to sectionals and seeing all these women not only working their asses off and pushing it to a
Yep.
point that I never knew was possible, but they were all cheering each other on. They all had camaraderie. So you go from a young woman where so many, especially just a Globo gym, where so many women are just eyeing each other, giving dirty looks.
Yes.
You've been talked about as a child when you're a teenager and young adult. And then you
Yep.
go to a gym where everyone cheers each other on. Everybody wants
Yep.
everyone to kick ass. And that was the community I wanted to be a part of. And I felt so
Yeah.
lucky to get to be a part of it for so many years because it put a barbell in my hand and it completely changed my life. And I know it's done that the same thing for so many other women out there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And two, it's, and Michaela and I had talked about this last week. It's finding, you're seeing these women, and then you understand that your body finally makes sense to you. Like the power that your body has and what you can do. And what I loved is I got into it late. So I was in my early 40s, and it was the most incredible thing for me was like when the open started and all of the qualifiers and things, was that we're all doing the same workout. And I was just couldn't wrap my head around the fact that I am lifting the same weight that, like the games athletes were doing, because that's what was prescribed in the age group. So we're all doing the same thing. And it's very empowering. And while my times aren't going to be like those of the individual elite athletes, just the fact that we were, as women, as that community, we're doing that, God, it is so incredibly empowering, and it makes you feel like you just want everybody to be able to feel that and to be part of that and to know the acceptance of a strong woman can be a feminine woman. And to I just think we it's gotten better, and there's room for growth with that. I feel like we've maybe gone backwards a little bit, but have you seen, since being away from CrossFit, what kind of growth have you seen in the world of fitness with women and empowerment and lifting each other up and that feminine muscular physique?
Well, I think I live in a bubble big time because I live in Colorado, a very fitness oriented
Mm,
city. I go to a gym where I'm instantly friends with females, and all of us females are constantly pushing each other to lift more and to push harder and try new things. And so I am definitely in my bubble around all females who want to be stronger.
that's so
And
nice.
my friends don't necessarily want to be as strong as me. They don't want the same muscular physique,
Right.
but they want to be stronger. They want to put on muscle. They want to feel physically capable. And so I I think we're just getting to a point, at least maybe just where I am in life, like
Yeah.
women are feeling more empowered to just care for themselves in a really positive way,
Yeah.
like making sure they're eating proper calories, proper protein. Like it's
Yes.
this less restrictive mentality, at least where I am visualizing it and seeing it myself. It's less about restriction and it's more about more. Like what can I give my body to be able to do more, to
Yep.
push more, to feel better, to sleep better, to have more energy out throughout the day. Like there's so many more components to it than just the physique part of it. And that's
Yeah.
I don't see much like fitness stuff online because I just follow like my close friends who are in the fitness
Yeah.
community. So I don't see any of that, but have seen all positives. Like just going to a Globo gym, it's so cool to see that change where women aren't
Yeah.
giving women dirty looks. Like I don't ever experience that there. And
Yeah.
it's all about strength. I see every single woman in there pretty much is doing some sort of strength related exercise, which is
Love that.
insane. It's so cool.
Yeah. And I mean, I train from home, but I also like to get out because when you work from home and then you train from home, I'm like,
Yeah,
it's like my brain just gets like, oh my God, I got to get out of my house. And I've
totally.
seen that more and more. And it's nice to, I will smile at people. I will see women and I will smile at them or try to like compliment them on something. Or if I see them and younger than me, or I see them doing something like, wow, your form was like, on point or something like that, because just making women feel comfortable in the gym in general. It is newer. And like you said, there are more women lifting, but I think it's important that we show them that kind of a support, like so that they know that, like, hey, this isn't just a man's world in here. This is for everybody. And we're all here, for the same thing because we want to make our life better and we want to be healthier, for whatever that reason is and however that, looks and means to them. So, with that, have you ever felt any barriers in competition and fitness for women?
Um, I mean, I think there's many barriers for women in fitness, like many times over. I think the intimidation factor is a huge
Hmm.
barrier to entry. I mean, walking onto even this morning, I had to work out really early at the gym, and getting a bench is almost close to impossible because it was so
Yeah.
busy. And it was 80% men still in that lifting area, still women. But when it comes to machines, oftentimes women are grabbing machines. But I think it's a barrier of entry of just intimidation, not knowing where to start, not knowing
Yeah.
how a lift is done, not wanting to do a lift poorly, maybe being overweight and feeling intimidated by all these like
Hmm.
jacked people. Like everybody I was around looked completely jacked there. Those are all really intimidating factors that can just kind of hold you back in that fitness realm. And so, like you said, like smiling at people, you have no idea how big of a difference that can
Hmm.
make. Just giving someone a compliment, telling them how great they look, smiling at them when you walk by, like reducing that barrier of entry, I
Yep.
think is huge because walking into a gym is intimidating enough when you haven't been in the fitness realm, when you weren't an athlete. I wasn't an athlete growing up, and going to the gym was so scary to me. And I remember so many times walking out because I felt so embarrassed there. I felt like I didn't fit in. And
Yeah.
so getting that point has to be done by that single person. They have to decide that they belong there, but
Yeah.
making sure people feel welcome as much as possible, every single person who's in there, I think is just a really important piece, which is why I'm constantly smiling at people and talking to people because
Yes.
everyone should feel so comfortable in a space that is made so you can be more comfortable in your skin. You can feel healthier. Like a gym was made for that. And so people should all feel
Exactly.
welcome there.
Yeah. Oh my God, that is so true. So what is something that, and it can be in fitness, it can be just generally speaking, but what do you think is something maybe that people misunderstand about you the most?
Oh man, actually, I've seen this question before when I did like a Q&A on my Instagram, and I have no idea. I mean, you'll have to tell me what something is people think about me because I'm like, I don't
I,
know. I Other people's ideas about me aren't any of my business. So
yeah,
I think
yeah,
I think people, especially in the past, have thought like maybe I was a really mean person, and I'm definitely not a mean person. I
yeah,
am always wanting to lift other people up, but I've definitely had my times in life where I've struggled more, and so I think it's easy to spot that online when you're a young girl. I mean, I started my blog when I was 23, and to think who
yeah,
you are when you're 23 compared to me being 36 now, like that's
yep,
a completely different person. That was a child who had a blog at her fingertips and was really learning who she was at the same time.
yeah,
So I don't know what those ideas are. I like to stay away from them. I'm sure I could find them out on the internet very easily, but
exactly.
I have found such happiness within myself as I've aged. And I hope other people can see that within my posts and can find that happiness within
Yeah,
themselves because I want Instagram, my blog to be a place of maybe some learning, but more so just like joy. Like it just brings
Yes.
some sort of happiness to you because you have all the anything you want at your fingertips, whether you want news, whether you want TV, whether you want whatever
Yep.
you want, you have it. So I hope that my page is just like some sense of community and happiness when they come to it.
Yeah, like a breath of fresh air. Like,
Yeah.
ah, yeah. That for misunderstanding, like the first thing I thought of about me is I swear a lot. And so I get a lot of feedback on my podcast, a lot of the feedback, and I will read like the good and the bad. And most of the bad are the people say I swear too much, and that if I didn't swear as much, that my message would come across better. And I mean, it's not gratuitous, it's just conversationally, like it comes up, or you use it for bravado, or I'm excited about something, or what, it just comes out. And so that's something that I think people misunderstand about me a lot, is that it's just my conversation. And the other one is I can look intimidating at the gym because I'm a game face person. And when I go in there, I'm like, and I will smile and things like that. But and I have people have told me that I scare them when I'm at the gym because they're like, "You're very scary." Like I look at you and you scare me, and I'm like, that's focus. That's how I look when I'm focused or I'm intimidating. So that would, I guess, those are the two things that people misunderstand. Is just I'm just in a specific frame of mind when I do certain things, and so it's just really funny how people perceive us, and they take that judgment, and then that's just who I am out in the world to these people at that individual moment. So
Yeah, I think that's the important piece is like anybody's ideas of you are none of your business,
boom.
because you are who you
Yes.
are and you're the only one who knows yourself to your core. Like no one
Yes.
will know you to your core, not even maybe your spouse, like because you are ever changing inside of yourself. And so people can judge you based on using certain words, like
Yeah.
using cuss words as an adult is such a silly thing to me.
Yeah.
But everybody is going through this world with a completely different viewpoint. And that's what's
Yes.
so fascinating that any of us can get along when we're all experiencing this world together, but so
Yes.
separately at the same time. So I have even made that Instagram reel. I'm like, it's none of your business. So
Yeah.
you don't need to know what anybody else is thinking because it really doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Nope. And that whole, I love, because I talk the perception thing, I talk about that all the time, and it is so true. I mean, we are one of 7.98 billion people in this world, and we all have our own unique perspective on everything. And even the same situation, like we could be from the same family, and a situation comes up, but our perspective is still going to be unique regardless, and we're going to interact with it totally different. And it is fascinating. And it's like, you know, I'm going to be a vibrational match for some people, and then there's a whole lot of other people that I'm just not going to be a vibrational match for. And I am 100% okay with that, because honestly, it feels like a lot of work to have to vibrationally match everybody. And it's just not something that is appealing to me to worry about. And this isn't true of, I mean, this is something like as you age, why is that? I don't understand why wisdom comes to us so much later. But then I guess it's our experiences that teach us, you know, and we learn from those. And so honestly, I don't care if you like me. Whatever, that's fine. I respect you, respect me, and we're totally good. And I admire you for being 36 and coming to that at like such a younger age, as opposed to I'm in my 50s now, and it's taken such a long time to do, like, understand that.
I mean, maybe it's because just being online, you're bombarded with so many opinions. And I've been doing this since I was 23. And, lots of opinions can be heartbreaking unless you see it as like simply an
Yeah.
opinion. And so you have to just let those things roll off your back because it is exhausting. It's imagine being able to hear everyone's thoughts. And that's what you get
Oh,
online is everyone's thoughts. So I'm like, nah, I'm going to stick with my own thoughts.
yeah, exactly. So you are really, and I can't remember where I had listened to this recently. You're really into the a spiritual journey now. And I love that because I everything fitness has taught me so much about life in general. Like CrossFit, the biggest takeaway I had from that was that it taught me how to face my weaknesses and turn those into strengths. It's like to basically take that fear that you have for it and to go through it and to make that be now a strength and to constantly like work on the way like you're showing up every day no matter how hard you know it is and you're working on that. And fitness, that translation into life, it's like just it's so hard, but you show up because you know what the reward is going to be for putting in the hard work. And so I look at like learning spirituality is like we get spiritual fissures, right? Every time we go through something or something happens and we work our way through it, we strengthen that spiritual muscle that we have. Have you had any experiences like that? And how did you get into that? Like what started you on that journey?
Well, I wasn't raised religious. I wasn't raised within any spirituality guidelines or ideas. I was just raised. And so I really felt like I was atheist. I was like, I don't believe in anything.
Hmm.
I believe when we die, we're done and it's over. And then as I got a little bit older, I think the first shift was I had a birth chart reading in Bali. This woman just had my birthday and birth time, and she starts reading, and it's everything that has ever been true about me, is completely like mind-boggling how right she was with things that you would never be able to look up
So
online,
cool.
like family dynamics. It was so fascinating. And that was when she's like, "Oh yeah, she was like, "I don't know what your like goal is with children, but I would just be careful because it's showing an unplanned pregnancy." And I at that point had just gotten off of birth control and I was not planning to have children. So I was
Yeah.
like, "No, no, no, no." And I was just pushing against that, and she was like, "Okay, I'm just telling you what it's saying here. So I'd be careful if you don't want that. You can like you have your own free will." So I left that birth chart reading just like with my mind completely blown and started talking about that more. And I started doing just like different readings from um, reading different books to different
Hmm.
mediums that I went to and like taking what really resonated with me. And it's spirituality has been really fun because for me, going to a church felt really restrictive. Going to listen to like just what the Bible's writings are, that doesn't
Yeah.
interest me. What interests me is like what really pulls to my heart and what I feel guided towards. And that's what's fun about spirituality is like we really don't know at all what happens after this. And so we get to create our own excitement for what's next, whether
Yeah.
that's nothing and you are buried into the earth, or ashes are spread on the earth and you just become the earth, or if
Yes.
there is this deep interconnection within all of us, this human connection where when we pass on, we have this human connection to the spiritual realm where we all are connected by love. Like all of us are humans that are going through the really challenging human experience, whether it's
Hmm.
insanely challenging or slightly challenging. Like we're all going through the human experience in a different way. And so I like to think that after this, we'll understand that human connection on a much deeper level and we'll be all connected in a new way. But I love the idea of once I'm done here, I get to go to another galaxy and see something completely new. And
Yes.
to me that's really fun, and if that's not true, that doesn't break me in any way. If
Yeah.
if it's a heaven and hell like the church says, okay, but I like to think of it in more magical ways, and maybe that's why I'm so
Yes.
into the fantasy books, because I just like to believe in magic that's outside of what we can comprehend right now.
I love that. It's funny because I'm so into all of that. And Dolores Cannon, if you
Yes,
oh my gosh,
so
wow.
good.
So oh, so good. It's so funny because I had heard her one of the things she talked about, she was talking about, and this was shortly. after my little long hair mini dachshund had passed away, and she had been talking about pets. And she said that we, and dogs is what she had used. And she said, dogs, when we get dogs, she's like, they come into our lives because we are preparing them to become a human. And I was like, oh my God. And it made me think about, you know, well, how did I take care of Beacon? And, all of the things, like, because I think about that. So how I took care of him and how I loved him, and even my other dogs that I have now, like what I'm doing for them, I'm preparing the kind of human that they're going to be coming into this world in this next life. And I know there's probably a lot of people who are like that you're so far, but like you said, I want to believe that, because
Mhm.
I just think there's so much negativity that anything that we can hold on to that is, you know, pure light and positivity, and it gives me a greater sense of responsibility and love with everything in the world. And I mean, I think that I'm going to come back in another life, like, because I feel like I've had so many other lives prior to this one. I, and for me, I think it's things that I am attracted to now, like certain cultures that I like, or even people that come into my life. I'm like, well, there has to be a very specific reason for that. That why I'm so attracted to this type of a culture. I'm like, was I in a past life before that was this culture? Even, you and I talking, did we meet up? Or, I mean, is that, do you get what I'm saying? Like with that, or is that
Yeah.
like totally?
No, I love that kind of stuff. One of the books that was really life altering for me was called Dying to Be Me, and I'm forgetting the
Mm.
author's name.
Oh yes, it's a fantastic book. My
So
sister told me
good.
about it, and oh my God, it's unbelievable.
It's a beautiful, beautiful book. And so for anybody listening, it's a death experience. She gets very, very ill and dies and has this out of body experience. And
Yep.
it pretty much experiences the afterlife and talks about that. And it is the most beautiful story that really makes me feel like it's all about love, like this inner connection. And we have to go through the human experience that's really challenging. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like it is all about love. And I loved that book. And I think about that all the time with we meet these friends who or maybe this is your husband or wife out there that you found this partner that you feel so connected to
Mhm.
that your souls just feel like they just mesh together so well and that you've known each other for lifetimes. And I have some friends like that where it feels like our souls just know each other. And I asked this question on my Instagram recently, was like, do you believe in soulmates? And 60% said yes. And I like don't really feel one way or another, but I have had
Yeah.
those feelings with my friends where I have felt like I have known them for
Yes.
lifetimes. And that's something that's really special, whether it's just your energetic exchange, whether it's just your frequency that you share with them, or
Mhm.
if it's a past life. No matter what it is, we'll never know, but it's fun to find what really calls to us. And if you're like, oh, I have past lives, I freaking know it, I can feel it. Like, who's to tell you that you don't? Like,
Yeah.
only you will know after this lifetime. So have fun with it. Like, life is too fun to be thought of as serious all the time.
Exactly. Totally. And the author is Anita Morjani.
Yes.
That
God, she's
book.
so good.
Oh my God. I mean, that is, I would encourage, actually, and I'll make myself a note. I'll put that in the show notes because it's such a good book. I just
It really
think there's
is.
so much value to take away from it for people, because we can get so stuck in our own heads, and we forget to, like, we're fucking alive. Like, I think about, and I say this a lot, is that just picture yourself, like, even you and I here right now having this conversation. But if you can just pull outside of yourself and see where you're at on a larger scale, and then go out even further and see, like, we're this little spot on the earth in the middle of this infinite galaxy. Like, we're not here by accident. This isn't
Mhm.
just some little, like, random happenstance thing that happened, and oh wait, here you are. Like, we're all here for a very specific reason. And I think Les Brown had said the quote that the graveyard is it the fullest place on earth, or because there are so many people that have died and they've taken all of their ideas and their books and their stories and their music with them, because they never put that out into the world, and that's why that they were here. And I don't want to live with that. Even if I do something and I screw it up, I did it and I know, and it's okay. And I just want to live life the best that I can. And I want my granddaughter to understand that, and I want her to see me doing that, and my daughter, so many things. And I'm sure you feel the same way with your daughter, is just because they watch us, they are seeing us do things all the time, and just to be that guiding light for them.
Yeah, I'm excited to see her grow because my daughter is about a little over a year and a half now and
So
just
fun.
soaking up everything so much. But I'm just so excited for those older years of not old, but like just older years of being able to have conversations together and
Yeah.
work through things together. And, now it's just like, okay, can we just get through potty training at some point? Like we're just getting to that point.
Yes.
But to be able to hopefully have some really great resources for her to be able to find what calls to her and what excites her in life and know that she has such a great purpose here on life because
Yeah.
it's easy to feel like you are just another speck on this earth because you are just another speck amongst the 8 billion people. But
Mm-hmm.
all of us were put here for a reason. And we don't know what that reason is, but
Yep.
if we can find our true passion that makes an impact in the world, and whether that's an impact in your community, whether that's an impact online, whether that's an impact on the world, like
Yep.
what an incredible thing to hold in so many of us. And so I hopefully
Yeah.
can be that person for her that really helps her find her true passion and her true purpose here.
It's so powerful. Just, you're right. Like, the amount of power that we have as individuals, I don't think we understand the true capability of what we can do. I mean, I could talk about this all day. It is such a fascinating topic to me, and just energetic frequencies and all of it, and the law of attraction, everything. I mean, there's so much validity to all of it. But we shall progress. So, if you could have any superpower, and the superpower had to be mildly inconvenient, what would it be and how would you use it?
Oh my gosh, mildly inconvenient. Oh my gosh. Okay, I think it would be so cool to be able to morph yourself into looking like
Oh,
someone else and be able to go into different I'm like just thinking of like books wise right now, like all these like different
yeah.
powers that people have, but to be able to make yourself look like whoever you need to look like at that moment, but then to be able to experience what so many of other people experience. Like all I'm ever
Yes.
going to experience is being a white female, like middle class. Like that's
Yes.
what
Yeah.
I experience. And I can go into so many other cultures and experience other cultures, but I don't know what it's like to be
Yeah.
in that culture. And so I think that would be really cool.
The transformation process would be the inconvenient part. I would
Yeah.
think it'd be like so. And I wonder, is it painful like in Twilight when Jacob would turn into like the werewolf? It's like, so is it
Yeah.
just like, or would it be like like that? And here I am, like, kind of thing. That actually, yeah,
Yes.
that is so cool. I couldn't even think
The
of anything.
I know that's a hard one. So it's literally only because I like been reading these fantasy books. But in Throne of Glass, it was a 8 book series I just read, and they have shape shifting. And so you can like turn
Ooh,
into a hawk, or you can practice like turning into a sea dragon or a wyvern or a dragon or whatever you need to be. And that, and then they literally just are back. Sometimes a person's naked and sometimes they're just like back in their clothes
Yeah.
that they were originally. But it would be the woman is always naked, who was like the shapeshifter in the book, and she would always have a
Yes.
cloak like ready to cover herself, but just like wouldn't care. But that would probably be an inconvenient thing of like shapeshifting back and you're like naked and you grew because you're like, okay, I want to be a man. I want to know what it's like to be a huge
Yes.
freaking dude and like what it feels like to have a wiener. Like that would be so much fun.
And it's like, is it really annoying having like balls between your legs? Or because
Yeah,
I say that to my husband. I'm like, does it ever get annoying? And he's like, well, he's like, the bat wings are, he's like, yeah. And he's like, but he's like, I was born
that's
with
all
it,
you
so
know.
I don't really think about it. And I'm like, you're right. I'm like, just for me, I'm wondering because I'm like, I don't have it. So,
Yeah,
so
it would be
true.
so fun to shapeshift into other people and shapeshift into
Oh
like
my God.
creatures. How cool. That'd
That
be
could be
amazing.
anything. You could shapeshift into a glass.
Yeah,
I
whatever
mean,
you want.
anything. Oh man, that I'm digging that. That's a good one. In
That'd be
fact,
so
I'm
fun.
writing that down. Look, that is the answer of the year right there. Shapeshift, anything you want. I
Shapeshift.
love that. Done. So, my final question is, if you could tell younger Julie anything, what would that be?
Oh man, if I could go back, I would really just tell myself to learn to love myself from a much younger age. I spent so many years of hating
Yeah.
myself and like hating the cellulite, and I had too many bumps and whatever. Like, I spent so many years covering myself up, not going to events because I was uncomfortable in my own skin, and just like pushing down the light that I'm supposed to have in this
Yep.
world. And if I could go back, I would be like, you need to shine that light everywhere you go. And that's what every single person should be doing, is like sharing their light with the world. So, younger self, like, show your light, share it. Like, don't
Yep.
let these little minor things that you think are a huge deal, they just aren't. They just aren't.
No, I love that. That's so good. That's an important one for all of us, is to just embrace, who we are and not make ourselves small, just be as, large as we can be and share the light. I love that. So, for my listeners who want to learn more about you and who you are and what you do, where can they find you?
Well, you can go to PaleOMG. So think about Pale OMG. That's my blog. And you can find me on everywhere on TikTok. I have a YouTube that I don't update very often, but I have so many different videos there. I have a TikTok that I don't update very often. But if you want to follow me and like my daily happenings, I'm on Instagram
Mhm.
stories all day long. That's my bread and butter. That's where I like to talk to people and
Yep.
share everything that's going on. So come visit me there.
And I will have those in the show notes so people can click on those links and check you out. Well, thank you so much. This was so much fun. I loved it. I just covered so many different things, and I love that. We like really got into some really cool things. So I really appreciate you coming on my podcast.
Yes, of course, Krista. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. You have a great day.
You too.